Hey guys, it's Big Arjun. In this video, we're going to be doing a review of where we've been as well as a preview of where it is that we're going to go. Right now, we're kind of in a weird spot because we have about half a month of live tracking data of transactions to go off of. I want at least a full month of transactions before going and configuring and building more stuff off of that, because I do want to make sure that the cash flow is positive. So kind of in a waiting period right now. So this is why I'm making a review and preview video at this point. So anyway, I got a couple of things in the mail that I do want to show you later on. So I'm going to make another video about that. It's kind of interesting how the timing worked out on that. Interesting marketing, huh? So I've renamed the series to Want to Get Rich? I'll Show You How. Inspired by
I know you like my style.
So we got 10 videos so far. We got 5 views. That's pretty good. It's better than 0. And this video series is all about showing you how to build a financial foundation that's going to serve you for the rest of your life. Remember, in the beginning, I said that this is not something that I'm just showing you just to show you. It's not like I'm doing an example budget on a Excel document and here's how you make a budget, and I'm never going to use that thing again because I use something different, right? That's not what's happening here. The stuff that I'm building here is actually what I'm going to use to manage my money. So it is going to serve me for the rest of my life. You could do the same thing, or you could take what I do and adapt it a little bit to suit your style, but this is real stuff that we're building here. All right, so part 1 was all about understanding the why. It's really short because it's kind of like tricky to do that stuff over video. I don't know how to do it over video that well, because like I got to ask you a few questions to really, if you want help with that, like to figure it out. So part 2 was building a cash flow machine. We created a balance sheet. We understood our spending habits, and we built the easiest expense tracking system that you'll ever see. You're probably never going to see anything that's more simple than that expense tracking system that we built. And then we automated pretty much everything, so we're never going to have to pay bank fees again. I've paid bank fees like a handful of times in my life. I could probably count the number on my hands. And several of those times, maybe one hand's worth of times, I've been able to call the bank and get them reversed. So I'm not a big fan of bank fees, and I don't know if, I guess banks make a lot of money on fees, like overdraft fees, late fees, monthly maintenance fees, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I can't say that I ever really paid them that much, and it's because of the things that we build in part 2. I put together stuff in part 2 that pretty much gets rid of the need to pay any kind of bank fees. All right, so part 3, I don't know what that's going to be yet. And I'll explain why towards the end of this video, like why this is TBA. It should be like eliminating debt or something, but I'm going to explain why I'm hesitant to go with that title for that part. All right, so here I'm going to make myself a little smaller here so you can see what the video is, and move this over there, actually. Yeah, there we go. That way I can remain a little bit bigger. Nice. Okay, so we started there. This is where I explained why I'm doing this. Like, this is a late night one day. I had this inspiration to start the series right before I was going to bed or something. It was one of those late nights. Weird stuff happens. Nothing good happens past 9 p.m. All right, and then this is part 1. It was just one video, which is a why, right? So in the why video, this is what we did. We just asked myself, why am I doing this? And I said something. This is why. I want to get out of debt, right? But this is not really the reason why. The real reason is down here. And I just kept asking myself why to uncover the reason why, and then asked myself over and over again until I got caught in this loop, right? You can see that this answer is the same as this answer. And okay, so that's my why. It's not probably my deepest why, but for now it is, because if I ask myself why to this question, I would just say, well, I don't know, because I just feel like it is. So I haven't unlocked the next level of why. It might be there, it might not be there, but I could also die with that why as well. So I don't know. Okay, and then what we did is we looked at our cash flow. So of course, at the very basic level, every single person's personal financial system, whether they have one drawn out on paper or not, or whether they're tracking it or not, it looks like this. This is you and your accounts. Money comes in and money goes out. That's it. If you can understand this concept, you will be a master at personal finance. That's really it. Everything else arises from asking questions about this. What is this? What are these? How much is this? What are these? Do I want all these? Right? And so on and so forth. That's what we did next, was we made this. This is a more like mapped out drawing of how the money flows. It's all conceptual. It's not like I know that I have all these accounts. Well, I do know, but I don't have a savings account, but I put a savings account here anyway. But basically, this is what brings money in. These are all the accounts that I have that money moves around in, and this is where money goes out, right? So then the next step to this was to make a balance sheet, okay? Because the balance sheet tells us, well, basically what our net worth is, but also it tells us what all these accounts are, right? So pretty much using this stuff, like I went and say, okay, what's my checking account? Then added the checking account to the balance sheet. Okay, what are all my credit cards? Then went and got all my credit cards, right? And so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what we did with that. Okay, and then what do we do next? So next we did the financial mirror. Okay, and the financial mirror, let's go back to that real quick here. Bunch of smart people have said the same thing about money and priorities, that you're going to spend money on what you value most. Okay, and I don't know how many smart people you need to hear say that before it like you say, oh, there might be something to that, huh? Yeah, well, it took me a while too. So what I did for the financial mirror was go get the statements for each one of these accounts and then list out every single transaction that I had made in the last 6 months. No, or 3 months. I did 3 months. All right. And then for each transaction, I asked myself, why did I buy it? Whether it was necessary or not necessary. Gave it a priority score, right? 1 through 10. 10 being the most important to me. And then, normalized it to not important or important. And from that, we got some outputs. We got this analysis that we did. Okay, it's just basically a list of all the stuff that I had spent money on, and then from that we were able to make our tracking thing. So we didn't make a spending or a budget or a spending plan, but we call it an expense tracker. All right, so I think that's what we did next, but let me just make sure. Okay. Oh, after the financial mirror. Okay, so after the financial mirror, we made priority boxes. Using the outputs from the financial mirror, all the categories that we had and a little bit of this stuff, we put all these into priority boxes. I basically said we just kind of took like the data that was there. We didn't do any magic or anything else at this point. We just put it into boxes. Okay, and this is a lot more simplified version of what I started with originally, because I simplified it a little bit. But you just basically put all these line items into one of these boxes and then see what happens. All right, so that's what we did there. And then I made a more detailed cash flow diagram. So I made this just to show like all the accounts on there. Oops, that's what I made next. And how everything flowed, and these are all the income sources pretty much. This is where it all goes, and then I wanted to put all the accounts there, and I added the detail to where they go. But then after like one video, I think I got tired of that one, and I made this one. I made a new one, reformat it a little bit. It looks a little bit nicer, right? And there's more detail around the credit card, and there's like a reimbursement flow and that kind of thing. So okay, made a more detailed expense flow diagram. And then we picked expense tracker. So I made a list of requirements for what I wanted my expense tracker to be, right? This is what I wanted it to do. These are the outputs. I want to know my total monthly expenses, total inflows, and actual cash flows, so I can keep track of whether I'm creating debt or paying down debt. And I just chose, I cheated a little bit. I just chose to keep using the same thing that I had been using for 4 years. So I just went with YNAB again because I know that it does all this stuff. It handles everything here that I wanted it to do. Okay, pick expense tracker. And then after we picked it, I took the, sorry for the clicks here. Okay, so I took all the stuff from my balance sheet, right? And then just added them. So I basically just added all the accounts that I had here into the tracker so that I could track all the transactions that happen on all these accounts. So this is what the tracking system ended up looking like. Again, it's not a budget. I'm not using this budgeting software, but I'm not using this as a budget. Okay, so I have, the categories here, right? We just took this from the category boxes, put them on here, and then, I've been categorizing away, been tracking. Okay, so that's what we did. We set that up and started tracking. This is where we are now. We're at the point where everything's automated. Oh, yeah. So after tracking, or in between tracking, or somewhere along tracking, we automated things, right? So if we scroll in, zoom in on the credit cards here, we can see that there's auto pays are set up for each and every single one of them. I already had that set up because I never turned that off. I would never turn that off. But we automated everything. So if there's other things, like if there's other loan accounts that I had to pay every month, I would just automate that. Right? That way I don't have to worry about any late fees or missing a payment or anything like that. And then also I got kind of tired of this one, so I redrew it. And one of the primary reasons that I redrew it was so that when I was on the slide, I could make myself bigger and talk about it this way. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Now we're kind of in the waiting period where it's like, okay, I want to make sure that, the cash flow is positive and everything here. So now we'll switch into preview mode, talk a little bit about where we're going to go. And for that, I'm going to go and grab some lines here. But you could probably tell already where this is going because of the credit card debt that I have, right? And as I've said, my goal is to get rid of all of that, to pay all that off, to make my net worth positive, above zero. So for this part, we want to know what the next step is going to be figuring out what my total income is. And actually, we can figure that out. We know what that's going to be. So we can go to the tracker here and go into reports. This is for the first half of the month. You can't see. This is for the first half of the month, okay? And I'm just going to pretend that it's 1,500. All right? I like to be conservative in my approximations here. So we're going to say 1,500 per 2 weeks, so 3,000 per month is my total income. Now for total expense, we only have half a month's worth of expenses right now. We could kind of estimate it based on this. Taking this number, 7102. Whoops, you can't see. My bad. Taking this number, 7102, dividing it by 3, because that's what 3 months of past expenses was. So let's see, what would that be? And I'm going to say 7,200, right? I'm going to overestimate my expenses. Divided by 3 is 2,400. Great. So if we go back here, I can say it's 2,400 per month. And this is something that we're going to have to verify, right? At the end of the month, we'll see. We'll see how it ends up being. If we look at where we're at right now, let's see. I'm just curious. In terms of spending for this month, total spending is $22.05. So it's kind of, we're almost getting there, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, this is an average over 3 months. So some months are going to be higher, some months might be lower. But let's just use that number for now. Pretend that it's 2,400, right? That means that I will have a surplus building up inside of here plus $600. And where is that going to be building up? Well, it's going to be building up here in the staging account. Let's say, for example, that instead of 2,400, my expenses were 3,600 per month. Now I'm spending more than I'm taking in. This surplus is still being built up inside of there, but it's being built up here. Okay, because if I'm making $3,000 a month and I'm spending, my expenses are $3,600 a month, somewhere there's a $600 surplus that's being built up inside of here. It's not a negative. Your net income is negative, but there's a surplus of cash being built up, and it's being built up in the credit cards, right? Because you can't create money from staging. You can't create money from your Venmo account, PayPal, or cash account. It has to be from debt accounts. So you're creating debt, right? And that's how credit cards work exactly. So if you flip it around, right, now you spend less than what you're making. There's still the surplus here, but it's being built up in a different spot. It's being built up in my staging account, okay? And so now the question becomes, and I think you can see where this preview is going, is where do I want this to go, right? Like I have two options really. Well, I have many options, but all right, so here are some of my options. I can make it go to Venmo, build up a balance in Venmo. I can build up a balance in PayPal. I can, withdraw $600 every month and walk around with $600 in my pocket. Or the thing that I'm probably going to do is pay $600 a month towards my credit cards. That makes sense, right? Another thing that I can do is I could hook up my brokerage account to my staging account, right? And say, hey, I want to invest $600 a month. Or I could open up a savings account, right? Obviously, I'd want to make some kind of goal for it, but I could open that up and say, hey, I want to save $600 a month. That would work too. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? There's going to be a surplus built up in there, and the whole concept is going to be directing that money, telling it where to go so that it will do a job. And it's really up to us where that goes. Now, the reason that I don't really want to call this section 3, eliminating debt, is because the machine or the system that we're going to be setting up for this is not really going to change when we say, hey, I want to, instead of paying down my credit card $600 every month, it's not going to be like much different from saying, hey, I want to send $600 to my brokerage. The plumbing is the same. There's no difference. But it could be fun to think of different ways to pay down the debt faster and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. We might do that. I don't know. We'll see what I call it. But that's kind of where the preview is going to be. That's what we're going to do. So anyway, I had some mail that I do want to show you guys because it's very relevant to what's going on. And I opened the mail already, but I haven't done anything with it. So look forward to that. We're going to be opening some mail. It's very relevant. It's very interesting how that timing worked out. So that's it for now, guys. All right, I'll see you in a future video here. Bye-bye.